Knuckles the Echidna, a tale as old as time. Born in 1994, one of the most iconic and trailblazing rivals of the mid-90s slowly disintegrated into nothing more than a supporting character on Sonic's entourage, doomed to be the butt end of numerous low IQ jokes.
Amy, Knuckles, go left!
Give me a sec. I'm on it!
But I'm here to tell you how the Sonic Movie 2 not only revived the hype for Knuckles the Echidna, but how this could also elevate Knuckles to a whole new level of fame and critical acclaim that as a longtime Knuckles fan, I can't help but shed a few tears for. Hey beautiful humans, I'm RidersDX, and Knuckles the Echidna has always been my favorite Sonic character. I mean, Metal Knuckles is basically a reflection of that.
Silence, you fool!
Anyway, the reason I've always been a Knuckles fan is really the heart that goes behind the character. Knuckles is a loner, fixated on his purpose in the world, which is to protect the Master Emerald and thus keep the world in balance. He's selfless but a little rash and naive due to his lack of exposure to the real world, thus leading into why he tends to fall victim towards Eggman's schemes. He's also a badass fighter and was the only character to cuss before Shadow came along. But a problem Sega ran into with Knuckles is what exactly to do with him once his story was told. The adventure games did a good job of fleshing out Knuckles' backstory a bit, establishing his desire to fulfill his duties and the lengths he'll go to for them. But then Sega just threw that out the window of Heroes, where since then, Knuckles has seemingly forgotten what his duty actually is. I can't blame Sega, having one of your most popular characters tied to one location can be a recipe for disaster, but simply ignoring it couldn't have been the best answer they could come up with. But what happened with Knuckles next only served to undo the fascination behind the character. I will attribute some of this to Shadow the Hedgehog, who basically stepped into that role of Sonic's main rival with his debut. However, the way that Knuckles was characterized certainly didn't do any favors. Knuckles underwent what many characters in the mid-2000s have undergone: flanderization. Knuckles' most explosive personality traits were maximized, and he became one of the biggest jokes of the franchise.
I hate to think what Eggman's doing to those poor things.
This only continued furthermore with the introduction of Sonic Boom Knuckles, whose main personality trait was having a chicken bone as his brain. I'm not saying Knuckles wasn't still an endearing character, as these were all traits of Knuckles since the very beginning. I just felt the balance between them was becoming increasingly imbalanced to the point where Knuckles seemed like a shell of his former self. It can't be easy to continuously make a character interesting once the bulk of their story has been told, as we've seen that with practically every television series that's ran longer than it should have. But then came the Sonic Movie 2, which has injected a level of excitement and anticipation we haven't seen in Knuckles since its debut. This is not the first time Knuckles was rebooted, as he was previously given a fresh slate in both Sonic X and Sonic Boom. But judging from the marketing at least, the Sonic Movie 2 truly seems dedicated to reviving that initial fascination audiences had with Knuckles when he was first introduced to a whole new generation. Watching that initial review of Knuckles in that first trailer had this heavy dose of mystery and badass energy overflowing the space as Knuckles showed Sonic just how much of a threat he could be. In subsequent trailers, Knuckles continues to show just how dangerous he can be, and audiences that have never seen Knuckles before are assuming the very best of this character. But perhaps my favorite part of all this is how, judging from interviews, Knuckles hasn't lost that sense of humor that I love about him as well. This is how Knuckles' voice actor described his approach to voicing the character. The personal touches that I try to bring is, I guess, a sense of humor, Elba said when asked how he made the role of Knuckles his own. In the recording of my character, I would just bring oddities to him in his personality. There's one scene, I can't tell you too much about it, but he talks about ice cream, and he talks about ice cream pretty seriously. This quote really has me excited because it taps into that naive aspect of Knuckles that I enjoy so much. Knuckles, being the isolated guardian he is, may not have been exposed to even the simplest of luxuries in the world, such as ice cream. So the idea of him talking about ice cream in a serious manner just sounds so funny and charming, and that just makes me rest easy in knowing the writers are really trying to establish that balance for him in this film. The Sonic Movie 2 may not have been the first time Knuckles saw a reboot, but it truly is the first time I feel they've been able to actually achieve what made Knuckles such a fan favorite in the first place. I hope the film doesn't disappoint, but judging from some of these initial previews from people who saw the movie in advance, I think we can expect a great trip for both long-time and new fans. Sonic Movie 2 is a worthy successor. The kids in my theater were howling. It has all the winks, nods, nostalgia, and laughs fans of the first movie could ever want, and feels more loyal to its game roots than ever. Good news! Sonic Movie 2 is a lot of fun. A much bigger, more action-driven film than the first Sonic, with great jokes and plenty for longtime fans. Jim Carrey is next level maniacal as Robotnik, but for me it's all Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. That trio delivers a ton of heart and humor. Sonic Movie 2 is a real love letter to the Blue Blur. It takes everything you liked about the first film and gives you so much more. Tails and Knuckles are fantastic additions, and Jim Carrey as Robotnik is even more unhinged. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the Godfather Part 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Now, if you're interested in learning about Knuckles' characterization in the actual franchise, then stay tuned as I play a snippet of my in-depth character analysis of the legend himself. So Knuckles was originally created and designed by Takashi Thomas Yuda as a rival to Sonic. He's an Echidna and the current guardian of the Master Emerald, a powerful ancient relic which is his solemn duty to protect from anyone seeking to abuse it. When he was first introduced to us, he was the sole remaining descendant of the Knuckles clan and the last of the Echidnas on Earth. Having such an isolated upbringing, Knuckles was designed as an introvert basically, someone who didn't have a lot of interaction with lots of other people within the world, who was solely focused on his one duty of protecting this massive amount of power that no one should get their hands on. His very first appearance was within Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which was the much hyped Sonic game coming after Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was a massive success for the Sonic series. As you all know though, back in the Genesis days, storytelling was a bit limited in terms of video games. You couldn't actually have full-blown cutscenes as we know now within video games, and also there was no voice acting, so it was very difficult to tell a direct storyline within these games. But there actually was a lot of lore that was established within these video games even during this period, and that was because of pretty much any other kind of media that you could get your hands on. The main thing is the game manual. Yeah, you guys remember those? I know that manuals aren't really a thing anymore, but they used to be one of the most important aspects in terms of storytelling within video games. That really is the only reason why we even knew that Knuckles was the guardian of the Master Emerald. Otherwise, looking at the very first scene within Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you would have just thought that Knuckles was a thug that was just fooling around with Sonic for fun. No, the game manuals told us what Angel Island was, who Knuckles was. It told us about Dr. Robotnik's plot to steal the Master Emerald to ultimately help him take over the world. Knuckles being the first rival to Sonic design would set the foundation for many rivals that would come afterwards, including Shadow the Hedgehog. He had a very cool composure to him, I guess you could say, and also a really unique design from both Sonic and Tails. Overall, he was kind of seen as the cool guy, a bit of a badass, I guess you could say, although unfortunately a little bit gullible, falling for Dr. Robotnik's tricks within the very first time he appeared. But this foundation, while it was simple, it was the beginning of a character that would become really prominent within the Sonic franchise from here on out, and it would also become the beginning of the appeal of rivals within the Sonic series, and also just the appeal of Knuckles overall, and really gave him the support to have his lore be further explored in games afterwards. But before we get into the big meaty games that really helped to tell Knuckles the story, Knuckles made a whole bunch of other appearances in between Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Adventure. I'll always be a big proponent of the use of Fedora in the Sonic OVA. I thought that just looked so cool and rad on Knuckles, and I wouldn't mind if he decided to rock it again in the future Sonic game. I mean, come on, Knuckles, bring back that smooth and cool quality to you and wear a fedora. But as we enter the Sonic Adventure era, this was when Knuckles truly was able to be fleshed out as a character. With the onset of 3D graphics and a whole bunch of other advancements in 3D gaming, Sonic and his cast for the very first time got prominent voice acting in the video games, including Knuckles. And even better, Knuckles got his own solo story within the first Sonic Adventure. So this was the perfect opportunity to really get to explore who Knuckles the Echidna was. And that we were able to do. So just like 3 and Knuckles, Knuckles was portrayed as a loner who stuck very closely to his main goal, protecting the Master Emerald. As a result, he had minimal interactions with other characters in the first game, only really doing so when it was related to his duties. His gullible nature was still a factor as well, as Dr. Eggman manages to trick Knuckles again during Adventure, which results in a very key moment within the plot progression.
There's Sonic. Eggman was right. What's that in his hand? It looks like a piece of the Master Emerald. He has no right to have that.
Hey, Knuckles! Whoa! What do you think you're doing?
All right. Put him up. Hand over the emerald now.
That's not gonna happen, buddy!
He doesn't let his failures plague him very long though, as again, he is a very focused character in this game, only having his eyes on collecting the pieces of the Master Emerald. I also gotta say though that the fact that Knuckles was so connected to the main storyline of this game was such an awesome thing for him. By learning about Chaos and how he had come to be this great monster that he had to battle at the end, you got to learn about where Knuckles came from, what his tribe was like, what his tribe found important, which in this case was power, and how that ultimately led to the death of the entire tribe. We got to see why Knuckles is the way that he is, why Knuckles ended up being the sole Echidna of his tribe. It was such a great game for Knuckles in terms of character development, and it further solidified just why Knuckles is such an endearing and likable character.
It's up to me to find the missing pieces of the Master Emerald. It won't be easy. Pieces flew off everywhere. Guess I better start looking anywhere I can. Where in the world am I? I don't remember being here before, but something about it is familiar. I'll probably be on this floating island forever, guarding the Master Emerald again. I may not know the whole story behind this, but perhaps it's better that way. I'm at peace once more.
He may have his moments where he's not the brightest bulb in the batch and can have a naive nature to him due to his limited interaction with other characters. However, Knuckles' heart is so pure and he only wants the best for the world, which is why he dedicated himself so strictly to protecting the Master Emerald, because he knows that in the wrong hands, that major source of power could cause so much destruction. And this is one of the main reasons why Knuckles is such a great character to me, because basically his motivation is in the right place. However, I feel like his nature and his motivation and determination to do his job has resulted in him not being able to meet some of his other needs, some of his more social needs. So that's why when we came to Sonic Adventure 2, it was very interesting to see Knuckles interact with a particular character quite often. If you want to learn more about Knuckles, then check out the video in the top left corner to see the rest of the video. Special shout out to my patrons, Team Rapper Sonic Gamer, Claw84, and Trash Q. Thank you all so much for your support, and just I'm excited for the Sonic movie, so I hope you all are too. Alright, this is Riders, riding out.